But for social housing and sort of contracting authorities in our sector, there's three kind of key things. So the first is achieving value for money, in making sure that you're getting value from the industry, and making sure that the procurement or the result that you achieved is the best possible outcome for your organisation. It's about demonstrating proprietary and good practice across procurement, and it's making sure that you comply with PCR 2015 regulations as well. If I sort of take it clockwise round, so strategic management, the process must link back to the original business case to avoid scope creep and badly designed procurement. You need to manage risk through the process. So before procurement starts, the team should identify all risks and put forward appropriate mitigations for them. Stakeholder management is a real key one. A procurement project team must have the ability to build relationships with stakeholders, and that includes sort of specifiers, end users, the market generally, to ensure that number one, the requirement is correct, number two, it's deliverable, and number three, it helps deal with potential issues and disputes longer term as well. And from a project management perspective, the process should be lean, have clear milestones, timescales, and targets. So it's about just putting together a really good project plan and making sure that you can enact it. And then from a contract management basis, the team should be able to set and design KPIs for the contract. There should be a performance framework and manage that against the contract requirement. And those two sort of outlined in the green colour are the two really key ones. The stakeholder management, particularly with retrofit, and the adoption of PAS 2035, it means you need to have a good understanding of what is realistically deliverable for your programme, and also the contractual elements as well to protect yourself sort of long term through that procurement. So I suppose the overarching theme is that sustainable procurement is good procurement. You need to think about policy. So take your time, develop one that works for you and your organisation and suppliers, and really follow it through the procurement. It's engagement, so engaging within your organisation that participates in any of those procurement decisions and works with suppliers, so making sure that they're all clear what the overall strategy is for this round. Sustainable supply, so you will have organisational objectives, and it's making sure that those come through the procurement and that suppliers are meeting that objective through the procurement round. It's prioritising, so identify what parts of your supply chain matter most to you, and where can you effect a meaningful change within it. It's encouraging suppliers as well to develop capability, and helping that through competition, and supporting procurement staff through that as well. And then lastly, it's kind of leading, so leading from the top and delivering throughout the procurement, and essentially do what you say you're going to do, and that will help your supply chain to follow your goals and aspirations as well as an organisation.
This has been a process in train for well over 2 years. We have enabled the time we've taken to do the market engagement, if you like, to understand how the market is moving and shaping. We did lots of market engagement. We have a carbon group where we have professionals who are responsible within our landlord community for delivering the carbon agenda, for doing the retrofit and decarbonisation works. So we spent many hours working through and understanding the requirements as they thought at different points in the process. If I go back to when we first started this, the first iteration of a potential framework came up with 38 lots. We had technologies that were emerging. We had existing technologies. We looked at various elements, such things as funding, and a range of other elements were put on there. It was almost a let's catch everything if we can. As we went through a process, what we established was actually the market was forming to create greater efficiency, which is what we always hope and expect it will do. And in doing so, the fabric first approach was born, if you like, at the time we were doing all of this work. And we worked to understand other frameworks from other providers that had been maybe a little bit earlier than we had been. And I think one of the items we identified that was not prevalent was the fabric first approach being accommodated through a principal contractor approach. So that then became the focus and the format for our framework, that it was everything around the fabric being built. And rather than having the specialist lots for an air source heat pump specialist or for somebody doing EWI, they would all fall within the principal contractor, and the principal contractor would use their supply chain to deliver that and build their partnerships. Wherever possible, we would look to facilitate that and try to put organizations together so that we can strengthen the supply chain partnership and the chain itself. Value for money, it's a very often easily used phrase. It can be simply defined as not paying more for a good or service than its quality or availability justifies. What we are seeing in the market is still a fixation at times with value for money means lowest cost. What we are doing, particularly in this market, is engendering a race to the bottom. And what we are seeing is where that is instigated, there are contractors who are working out in the marketplace and working on what are very thin margins that have no margin of error. And it often is creating poor outcomes where we've got poor delivery, we have higher variation costs, lots of backwards and forwards between contractors and landlords. The rates probably contractors are paying mean that labour retention issues grow even more so than they are in the existing marketplace, which affects that quality of delivery when the works are being undertaken. And that in itself can create a poor experience for tenants and a greater disruption to the process. So, you know, for our view, value for money is far more than lowest cost.
The release date is obviously yet to be confirmed. There's been no indication of the date being moved or the date staying the same. So we're looking at an estimated release date of mid-March. And there's a two-year delivery window. So all funding needs to be spent by 31st of March 2025, that should say, not 2023. There's also an additional where projects may opt to deliver until 30th September 2025, where the scale of the project requires, or co-funding is used in the final 6 months delivery. This is a really important part of any retrofit project, as we're seeing with a lot of Wave 1 schemes. This is kind of a process that many projects are going through currently. So that's just ensuring that whatever we've installed into a property, residents are trained up and made aware of what has been installed, how it benefits them, and most importantly, how it works. I think a sort of ensuring that handover kind of offboarding process in how the equipment's sort of handed over, documentations, etc., is incredibly important. And this can be, I mean, the whole drive of this is to improve energy efficiency. But if products and measures are not actually used correctly, i.e. operated correctly, can cause great inefficiencies within the property and within the, for example, heating of the home. And we've found it's incredibly important to get the most value for money. It's ensured that once these measures are installed, you're thinking about the ongoing maintenance of these, fitting in with your sort of responsive repairs or planned works over the next couple of years. It's important to start thinking about that, which I'm sure many of you already have. The sort of importance of starting now, if you haven't already started, in terms of procurement, in terms of assigning a contractor or signing consultants to your project. Although the 2-year window might seem manageable, I think that's the biggest, one of the biggest learnings we've learned in Wave 1 is that right at the start, we found that a lot of clients kind of started the process once they received the funding, and that can knock 2 or 3, 4 valuable months out of your project delivery timescale. So it's very important that you start that process.
And let's be honest as well, like the energy efficiency side is one thing, but we need painters, decorators, plumbers, electricians. We need all of those people to be empowered, I suppose is the right term,
Yeah.
to move into this space and see the trajectory of the market, and to understand that this is a long-term job for life. It's it's not going away. And I think that's what we need to do, is about getting central core of retrofit and housing delivery, and get that out to the wider construction market and get them to understand the scale of the problem. And I think then we'll start to see that supply chain grow.
I think also, as you touched on just quickly about partnership as well, is we're seeing more that, you know, we're contractors are becoming partners to housing associations in this whole drive of decarbonisation, and that commitment can allow, you know, contractors and SMEs to invest more as well into this whole aspect of training and getting the right qualifications. Without that kind of commitment, that partnership is very difficult for the industry to grow.